ResortLoop.com's HolidayThon 2020 is proud to be sponsored by Joffrey's Coffee and Tea Company and Resort Loop Travel. Try Joffrey's newest blend from their Disney Specialty Coffee Collection. Disney's Riviera Resort Blend has been handcrafted by head roastmaster Chris DeMezzo. The Riviera Blend features a perfect blend of beans from Papua New Guinea, Kenya, and Costa Rica. You can find it at Joffreys.com. If you are thinking about a Disney cruise in 2021, here at Resort Loop Travel, we would love to get you a free no-obligation quote. You can find us at ResortLoopTravel.com.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. To our new passengers, aloha and welcome aboard.
Ho, ho, ho! Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us for HolidayThon 2020. It's that time of the year again. I love doing the HolidayThon shows. This is going to be a very exciting show. Joining us, you might know him from such things as looking at Lucasfilms, Fine-Tuning with Drew Taylor, the Marvelous Podcast, Universal Joint Podcast. He's a very busy man, and maybe even Disney Dish with Jim Hill. Joining us is Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, thanks for joining us on the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me along to take part in HolidayThon. How long have you been doing the holiday mega show, so to speak?
This is, oh my goodness, like 6 years or so now.
Oof.
And I didn't tell you this. Our annual first show, which has already aired, Mr. Len Testa always kicks us off.
Oh, well, okay. I'm used to following in Mr. Testa's wake, so yeah, okay. This makes perfect sense. So,
oh, come on, you're right. He's riding your coattails.
And that's very kind of you to say, but you and I both know that's wrong. So. It must take you to like mid-January to get the tinsel out of your hair.
Hair, teeth, everything. I'm very intrigued by the whole business model for Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's just fascinating in real time to watch the Walt Disney Company changing in such a huge way. Though. When did it first come on your radar? When did you start paying attention to Disney Plus?
I heard about it when it was announced. Where was it announced? Was it at a investors event? Was it a D23? I don't remember where it first came out.
Well, back in August of 2017, Disney, which at that point had owned a minority share in BAMTech, announced they were taking a controlling stake, and it was that very same day that Disney, in kind of a 1-2 punch, announced that they were ending their distribution deal with Netflix. They'd cut a deal back in, I want to say, 2006, the spring, 2016, excuse me, to have, a certain number of titles available through that subscription streaming service. But yeah, it was, again, the August of 2017, where it's like, okay, we're ending our deal with Netflix, and oh, by the way, we're launching our own streaming service. So, it was, when you think about it, that's only, that's less than 2.5 years now, and to think where we are right now, how quickly the Disney company changed, it's kind of astounding that they moved at that speed.
Incredible. And I was going to ask you this before the show, but was it Bob Iger who initially, I think when maybe not long after he became CEO, he was talking about releasing movies on DVD the same day as releasing them in theaters? Does that ring a bell?
Well, yeah. I mean, Bob has always, and in fact, this has been kind of a bone of contention with the exhibitors. Bob has always talked about the fact that, especially, what's interesting is when you watch Bob's years, running the company, and, remember that, what was it, 2006, I want to say? No, 2005. The summer of 2005, he comes through the door. And, what frustrated Bob was the fact that a movie would open in, first screenings would be 10 a.m. in New York on a Friday. And typically by Saturday noon, that very same film was on sale in the streets of Shanghai, or, the pirates were really cutting into Disney's revenue. And so it was, to Bob's way of thinking, The way you make that go away is that you open day and date, that as a digital release as well as in theaters, and you eliminate, the edge that the pirates would have. Exhibitors did not like this idea and pushed back whenever Iger would float it. In the meantime, what was kind of interesting is just kind of undercut that model. In fact, you may have noticed that, particularly with the Marvel movies, they'd actually opened overseas before stateside, and you'd see, in fact, that there was this sort of 10-day junket that would eventually end with all of the performers and the talent back in the States, and that's when they do the premiere at the El Cap and that sort of thing. But they'd launch it in the foreign markets with an effort to try and kneecap the pirates. But in the end, they still got a large chunk of what Disney viewed as Mickey's money, and it's just sort of like there's got to be a way to shut this down. Bob's been pushing this idea forever, and it's so strange that it took a pandemic to sort of put gas in the tank, to actually make this all happen so quickly. Just to sort of back up the truck here. Did you actually manage to make it out to see Onward when it was out in theaters back in March?
I did not. We caught it on Disney Plus.
Okay. Well, see, that's the thing. The weird thing for myself and Nancy is, Onward came out in theaters on, I want to say, March 6th of this year. And that's, of course, the pandemic started to ramp up, and we're starting to hear noise about, restaurants closing, theaters closing, that sort of thing. And so, my birthday is March 12th, and I turned to Nancy and I said, maybe as an early birthday present, we should go to a theater and see Onward before maybe the theaters close. And we went out on, I want to say, the Monday of the second week it was in theaters, and we're lucky that we did because the theater closed on Tuesday. But at the same time, face it, when we're talking about the modern day Walt Disney Company, it's kind of it likes being in the blockbuster business. I mean, think about just last year, you had 13 different films that the Walt Disney Company released, made over $1 billion at the box office. No other studio in the history of Hollywood has ever done that. And to go from that to the year we're experiencing now, so many people in Hollywood right now have had their worlds rocked.
Yes.
And that's kind of where we are right now, especially after that announcement in October that Disney was totally reorganizing its entertainment, and content creation arms to focus on direct to consumer. And this is where we are right now. In fact, you were just talking about the Investors Day conference just last week. By the way, did you watch that, or do you just sort of follow it after the fact?
I followed it after, but I did see the couple video clips they put out of all the different shows coming out. And there's a ton of shows they have planned. Was it like 10 Marvel, 10 Star Wars?
Well, but see, now what's interesting is that if you and again, you got to remember the whole silo system that Iger set up that Bob Chapek is using now. The notion that there's a Pixar silo and there's a Marvel silo and there's a Lucasfilm silo where they have control over the films they make. It's just but they have the Disney might behind them, whether it's marketing or the amazing relationship that Disney has with toy companies or that sort of thing, so they can maximize profits. But what's fascinating to me is this continues into Disney Plus. I mean, if you look at what Marvel's doing, for example, Kevin Feige is holding firm. You know, you may have heard, you know, I want to say he initially announced this at the D23 Expo last year, 2018, where he talked about how, you know, they were going to do these limited series that would then, you know, connect directly into films, and then these films would, you know, drop out into, you know, the next limited series. And you know, Kevin stood strong. You know, that it was one of these things where there was a lot of pressure to say, put the Eternals or Black Widow out in, you know, make it available on, you know, Disney Plus. And he's like, nope. These, you know, in order for that plan to work, there have to be Marvel movies out in theaters, and there have to be these limited series. So, you know, that's what we're going to do. And so that if he pushed his slate out a full year, I mean, you know, we're not going to get to see Black Widow till May of 2021. And Eternals is, you know, if all had been gone the way Disney had originally planned, you know, Eternals would have been in theaters for a month at this point. In fact, I don't know if you saw just recently, you know, I don't know which toy company screwed up, but a set of the Eternals action figures hit store shelves, and, you know, some fan, you know, flipped them over and got basically the entire story of the film.
Oh, wow. No, that's awesome. It was on the calendar. We had to release them.
Well, no, see, that's the idea, that there are warehouses full right now of, you know, Black Widow toys. Because, again, remember the Disney business plan, at least as far as merchandising, is that, you know, the first wave of toys basically arrives 6 weeks before the movie arrives in theaters. Sometimes if it's, you know, they especially if they see big potential, you'll see the first wave show up 3 months early. But yeah, that there's a wave of toys that come out ahead of the film. There's a wave of toys while the film is in theaters, and then there's a third and final wave of toys when the Blu-ray DVD hits store shelves. And, you know, so you've got this entire arm of the company that's like, I have warehouses full of Black Widow and Eternal toys, not to mention the stuff we created for Soul. And, you know, the container ships full of Raya and the Last Dragon merch are arriving now. Right. And it's like, what am I supposed to do?
Oh, my goodness.
Sort of like, you know, just sort of, well, it's a different world. And we're just going to have to make this up as we go along. What's fascinating to me is Kevin standing fast with the films and limited series, whereas Kathleen Kennedy and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni over at Lucasfilm, based on the success of The Mandalorian, they totally changed up, you know, what they had originally planned as the future of Star Wars. Think about it. They announced 10 series for, you know, for Disney Plus, and they have 2 theatrical films at this point. Now, mind you, you know, that they, you know, one of them is being directed by, you know, Patty Jenkins of, you know, the 2 Wonder Woman films, and then the other one's directed by Taika Waititi, who's no slouch.
Right.
So, you know, those, you know, but again, you know, the earliest we're going to see Star Wars in, you know, theaters is Christmas of 2023. That's when Patty's film drops. And if the pattern holds, and the idea was that Star Wars and James Cameron's Avatar series were supposed to swap Christmases. In fact, they were originally supposed to start next year. But now Avatar 2, I guess, drops in 2022. And then the next Star Wars and so on and so forth. But yeah, that Kathleen and John and Dave, they honestly think, based on the, you know, how The Mandalorian became this white hot pop culture phenomena, that the future of Star Wars is on Disney Plus, you know, largely because with these limited series, you can tell longer stories with, you know, and you don't have to be this relentless, you know, space battle, you know, lightsaber duel. You can do these little character moments that suck people in. So, you know, that, you know, they've got an entirely different plan than than the folks at Marvel. And it's at the same time, it's interesting watching Pixar and Walt Disney feature animation sort of feel their way. Trying to decide, okay, what's the best way going forward here? In fact, I don't know if you paid attention to the Disney feature animation presentation, but did you notice that the 4 series that are being done by Disney feature animation? We've got a Baymax show, we've got a Zootopia show, we've got a Moana show, and we've got a Princess and the Frog show. Those are all properties that are going into the parks.
Yes. Yeah, they are.
That's not a coincidence.
No.
But
into parks and hotels.
Yep. So, all right. So what leaped out at you from the presentation? What fascinated you most about what Disney announced?
Well, I saw they were coming out with all these new series and all these movies, and then I'm thinking, how much money do they need to make on Disney Plus? Because right now they have it's like 88 million subscribers at $7 a month, soon to be $8 a month. Which I did my math. It's like around $6 billion a year and $7 billion a year after the increase. These series have to cost a lot of money. So I'm just wondering, are they breaking even? I mean, I know they're making money. How much money are they hoping to make more than theaters?
Well, all right. Face it, not everything is going to be a Mandalorian.
True.
Think about it. This time last year, everyone was kind of losing their mind over The Child, and at the same time moaning about the fact that there was just nothing out there. No merch, no nothing. I think I remember. I think the very first thing that Disney was able to actually get on store shelves were the Child socks. I want to say they put them in the the post Star Tours store at Disneyland.
Oh, okay, yes.
And it wasn't pretty, people fighting over socks. Now when you think about it, you can't go anywhere without tripping over, the Child or Mandalorian merch. I mean, they're certainly making up for lost time. But not everything is going to be like that. Not everything is going to hit that way. I mean, if I were a betting man, I assume that, the Obi-Wan series that'll start shooting in London, in the latter part of this winter, I would imagine that's going to do really well merch-wise. And, I think there's a number of Lando fans or that sort of thing. But yeah, you're right. But at the same time, you also have to understand that when you pursue this course with content that you've created, you're not paying to make movie posters. You're not paying to, yes, you'll do a cursory ad buy on, the legacy media, and certainly ads will show up on ABC or ESPN because, again, that's Disney and that's synergy. But yeah, in a weird sort of way, you're eliminating costs.
That's true.
But at the same time, it's just sort of, you got to feel bad for example, somebody like Pete Docter, who spent years working on Soul, which is, again, going to be the very first animated feature that Pixar's, ever done that explores African-American culture. And, they work so hard to make this an amazing theatrical experience. And, the only way you're going to see this in a movie theater is, after the fact, that after it's released on Christmas Day on Disney Plus, hopefully, at some point it'll play in a theater and we can see it on a widescreen the way we were supposed to.
I was thinking about it. It has to be so, I won't say disheartening, but like you said, you spend all this money doing a ultra high definition cinematography thing, and people are home watching it on TV or on their phones.
Yeah, but now here's the thing, though. Think about it.
Okay.
Think of your Lin-Manuel Miranda, okay? And, you did Hamilton on Broadway, and back in June of 2016, before the original cast clears out, you spend 3 and 4 days shooting the show, top quality crew, amazing cameras. And then, you turn around and you're looking for somebody to, a place for it in Disney. And that's the weird part. Remember, it was only in February of this year that it was announced that Disney had acquired the film rights to this, the version of Hamilton that had been shot inside of the Richard Rodgers Theater. And, and the idea at first was like, look, we want Hamilton to continue to be this huge hit on Broadway and the touring companies and that sort of thing. So we bought the rights in February. It's not going to wind up in theaters till, what was it, October?
It was a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, 1 month later, the world shuts down. The theme park shut down, Broadway shuts down. And, and here's Disney desperate to put new content up on, because again, The Mandalorian has finished running. And, let's be honest here. There were a number of things that wound up on Disney Plus that weren't exactly cinematic smashes. I mean, did you see Timmy Failure?
I did not see Timmy Failure.
Yeah, well, you didn't miss much. And on the other hand, did you see the Anna Kendrick thing, Noelle? The Santa's Daughter,
the Christmas
thing?
Movie. Yeah.
And the weird part of that was actually shot to be released theatrically. That the original plan was that was going to go out in theaters, and Disney was hoping this was going to be their next Santa Claus. And again, the weird part is that they looked at it and decided not quite as good as we had hoped. And that's why it got shunted over to Disney Plus. I mean, mind you, that there were films that were created specifically for Disney Plus that just started off as they were scripts that Disney developed, but for theatrical, but in the end looked at it and went, okay, maybe this would be a good way to start Disney Plus. I mean, for example, the William Dafoe film Togo, did you get to see that? Or
I did. My wife did. She said it was great.
Oh no, it's an amazing film. It's if you haven't seen it, definitely this holiday season, circle around to see it. But bring Kleenex. It's
I did
definitely
hear.
a classic Disney tearjerker.
Yes.
But yeah, so this was one of these situations where that one was created specifically for Disney Plus, and again, top quality, did an amazing job. On the other hand, well, it was a reason that got slid over there. But Hamilton, on the other day, was top shelf quality. And again, the notion was this was going to go out into theaters and only then show up on Disney Plus. But, we got the announcement in the spring to the effect of, okay, Hamilton is now going to show up on Disney Plus. It debuts on July 3rd. And it's, as of right now, it is the most, the most streamed film of all of 2020.
That's amazing.
Smash hit, and again, there's a whole generation of kids right now who only know Hamilton from having seen it on television. But when the theaters start up again, and in fact, that's the other interesting thing is there's actually talk about Broadway will reopen in the summer of 2021, and the first show to reopen will be Hamilton. But yeah, it's such a strange time in entertainment because we're watching this. I mean, normally, changes in entertainment arrive, yes, you have things like in, 1927, the Jazz Singer opens in theaters, sound arrives and, changes the world. It wasn't that way with switching over to color or widescreen screen. But something like this, where suddenly theaters close and we're all at home and we need something to watch. And Disney, just by the luck of the draw, launched, Disney Plus, November 12th, 2019. So 3 months later, they're in the perfect position when we're all trapped at home and looking for something to do.
How brilliant was that move by Iger to move that and get that out,
Yeah, but at the same time, weren't you intrigued by the timing of Bob announcing, I am no longer CEO? Bob Chapek is CEO.
Yes.
And what was it? A week to 10 days?
It was
later?
like a week.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
The way it's been explained to me is that Bob basically had the data coming out of China. He had the information about, how this was going to impact Shanghai Disneyland, how it was going to impact Hong Kong Disneyland. And he realized that, it was headed our way, and it was going to disrupt all aspects of the Walt Disney Company. And, here was a guy who had already decided that he was going to step away from the company in 2021. And it's like, why spend my last year or so as the CEO, as the captain of the Titanic running into the Hindenburg?
Right.
Yeah. It's like, Mr. Chapek, you're up. You get to deal with this. And, I'll go be the creative guy. And, that's turned out to be a really smart move.
It did.
But again, so taking the 30,000 foot view now of the stuff that got announced, what are you most looking forward to?
I've become a real Marvel fan, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Now I had to go back and I had to start at the beginning because I didn't watch all the movies at some point, so I decided to go back all the way back to the beginning. This was over a few months, and I'm working myself up, and I've seen a couple since then. Right now I'm with the Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm a little behind, but I'm kind of a completist, so I don't want to see like Endgame before I've seen the stuff leading up to it.
Oh, again, that's a good instinct because that half of the fun of Endgame is things. In fact, I won't give stuff away, but there's stuff that was set up back in 2008 that only pays off in Endgame.
And Jim, I'll be honest, that's why I don't really listen to your Marvelous podcast because I'd have to jump over parts. I'm like, I just got to get out until I listen to everything. But then there's that. I was going to say, then there's that. Do you watch them in release order or in the chronological order of when they would have happened? I went with release order. Did I make the right call?
It's wow. I have to ask, have you gotten to the point where you need to fold in the new Tom Holland Spider-Man yet? Or
I think Spider-Man will be after Guardians. I need to look at my list again.
Yeah, it's and that one's got. I don't know, how you've been following the work that's going on right now about the third Spider-Man film, the Tom Holland thing that's going on right now. But that's become this amazing, lazy Susan of every iteration of Spider-Man, or at least the movies. Folks coming back to do cameos. I mean, trust me, you're going to have to do a lot of homework before you get to see that next year. But yes. That sounds amazing. But yeah, you're into. So again, you're doing chronological, or
I'm doing movie release order.
Movie release order.
So how they came out in theaters.
Oh, that'll still work.
Okay.
That'll still work. That I think Aaron Adams, the gentleman I do the Marvelous podcast with, might have a different opinion there.
Oh,
this time next year after you get caught up, we'll have to talk.
We will
see. Do you have a favorite of the bunch so far, or?
I love Captain America. Oh, and I will say I had to take a little bit of a hiatus because I had to watch all the Agent Carters because I developed a small crush on Agent Carter.
Yeah, Haley Atwell. Again, not to give anything away, but
I heard there's somehow
how this ends. I'm just saying.
No, I've heard a little bit, but no, I usually that's when I turn things off. But yes.
But yeah, I have to admit, Captain America, particularly what Joe Johnston did with that, just managed to hit that sweet spot between, again, just got that character. And at the same time, we are so lucky that, they cast Chris Evans to play that role.
Oh, my gosh.
And in fact, did you see, speaking of continuing his run of superheroes, did you see Lightyear, the Pixar project that got announced?
No. I missed this.
All right. Well,
I'm excited already just by the name.
Okay. Basically, the belief at Pixar has always been that the Buzz Lightyear toy that we know from the Toy Story films is based on some sort of amazing action film. That in fact, that if you think about, the little boy in Toy Story and how excited he was to get that toy, he knew it from either a TV show or movie, that sort of thing. And so what they finally decided to do is actually make the action film that the Buzz Lightyear toy is based on. And they are leaning into this thing to make the best possible, origin story for, Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger, and to make sure that it could be, stand right alongside the very best of the Marvel superhero movies. They recruited Chris Evans to be the voice of the movie Buzz Lightyear. Again, just for my money, it's a wonderful choice. I mean, I feel bad for Tim Allen.
Yeah. But I can see him selling it.
Yeah, but on the other hand, he's been cashing the Buzz Lightyear check since '95.
That's true.
Not exactly hurting.
No, not at all. He's still got Santa Claus money rolling in.
Well, but again, and in fact, that's the other thing that's fascinating about a Disney Plus is, watching the sequels that Disney isn't necessarily certain would be big hits in theaters these days show up on Disney Plus. I mean, for example, the Amy Adams Enchanted. By the way, Kevin Lima did a wonderful job directing that, and I really wish Disney had reached out to him when they were prepping a sequel. I mean, because this thing's been it took them 10 years to make the first Enchanted, and now we're almost 15 years, and they're finally getting around to making the next one. But again, one of the reasons that Disney sort of kept tapping the brakes on Enchanted 2 was the notion of, I don't know if this is going to work in theaters. I don't know if this is going to be a $1 billion earner. And to be honest, that's what Disney Theatrical wants to do these days.
Right.
They only want to put, movies that will make $1 billion out into theaters. If you look at something like Disenchanted, it's like, okay, you can, that's a piece of straight pipe to every Disney fan on the planet. The Friday that becomes available, everyone will download it.
Oh yeah.
That's the other thing that they said as part of this investors conference that was kind of startling. They want every week to have something new debut on Disney Plus. So that's 52 projects. Now, mind you, is that could be something like Disenchanted.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, that could be episode of The Mandalorian season 3. There's a lot of leeway and something new every week.
Still a lot of production.
Crazy amount of production. In fact, that's the other thing that got dropped in the middle of the Lucasfilm presentation. I don't know if you watched the Disney Gallery, the Mandalorian series, where they showed a lot of the technology that was used to shoot.
Parts. Yes.
Okay, so the volume. That amazing space where they can, it can be anywhere, indoors, outdoors,
Mm-hmm.
And they really lean into that technology. Lucasfilm, as part of its presentation, announced that in addition to the volume that they've been using in LA to shoot The Mandalorian, which, by the way, they're increasing the size of, they're building 2 more volumes. One is going to be located in Australia, and another one is going to be located in London. And not really a coincidence that, Lucasfilm has things that they'll be shooting in both of those places.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it's such an interesting time.
It's
I
incredible.
do, as a guy who ran a movie theater when I was in college, I do feel bad for the exhibitors because I feel like, we're kind of in that moment where we're going to see a lot of movie theaters go under.
Yes.
I mean, we haven't even talked about, for example, what Warner Brothers announced. What was it, last week, the week before, where basically their entire slate for 2021 is going to, it's going to be simultaneously streamed and released to theaters.
And was it HBO Max? Is that the right one? Yeah. That's not good at all.
No, not if you're a theater.
No, not at all.
And in fact, what's especially interesting on the real estate development front is so many of these theaters. And remember, that over the past 20 years, you've seen, theaters change, ridiculous expansion projects, so that they became multiplexes. Mm-hmm. And then they changed from, traditional film to digital projection. So there's a lot of money invested in these places. And so many of them are located either, in a mall or next to a mall. And of course, if you think about what, Amazon, online retail has been doing to brick and mortar stores, I say this is a baby boomer.
Yes.
Because it's one of the more fascinating little bends on, life in 2020. A lot of the malls that have failed are now being reimagined as retirement communities.
Oh, wow.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
You've got, it's in, most of them are indoors.
Mm-hmm.
That they in fact, a lot of them were designed to be accessible for, shoppers of a certain age. So escalators, elevators,
right.
But that a number of them are changing into retirement communities. And, the interesting thing of like, oh, let's go to the movie theater and watch one of them old fashioned movies that they used to show on the screen before the kids watch everything on their phones.
So all the mall walkers would just be walking their home.
There we go. So I don't know. I guess, again, and the interesting thing is Disney, if you think about it, has fundamentally changed entertainment multiple times.
Oh, yes.
Whether it's, the first, animated cartoon with synchronized sound, or the first, animated feature that had broad theatrical release, or theme parks. And so it's not really a surprise to have them at the forefront of a change in entertainment yet again. But, the wild card here is, I don't know if you saw what Bill Gates said, I think just yesterday, about how, yes, it's wonderful that we're seeing the vaccine, roll out, and,
mm-hmm.
that it's on trucks and it's on, planes, and we're seeing the very first responders, get the shots and that sort of thing. But a realistic part is that, this vaccine is not going to be available to the general public till April, May.
Right.
And Bill Gates was saying that it's probably not till the first quarter of 2022 that we will get back to quote unquote normalcy.
Oh, that's longer than I was hoping.
Yeah. And, it's going to be interesting to see what the world is like on the other side of that. How many movie theaters manage to survive this, or for that matter, how many theme parks?
Very true. It's just been a time of great change right now.
No, absolutely. But at the same time, for folks like ourselves who, are looking things to talk about every week, the fictitious ancient Chinese curse of may you live in interesting times, and we are living in very interesting times.
Absolutely. Jim, thank you so much for talking Disney Plus with me. I really enjoyed it because there's just so much going on with it and where it's going and where it's been. And it hasn't been that long.
Thanks for inviting me on. And again, here's hoping that the rest of your holiday thought. Well, again, it started off with Mr. Testa. It has to be entertaining.
Oh, and you're tent poling it right in the middle for me. It's fantastic.
Again, thanks for the invitation, and to all the listeners, hope they have, given the circumstances, as happy and healthy a holiday as they can. So,
well said, Jim. If anybody wants to reach out to you, where can they find you
these days? Let's see. You were kind enough to mention all the podcasts of the up front there, but yeah, just typically these days it's the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network. We're on basically anywhere you can find. You get your podcasts. That's what we are. Disney Dish, Len and I are, doing the regular weekly show, and we're in the middle of digging deep into the Joseph Mankiewicz archive for Epcot. And boy, there's some stories there. But yeah, that's just if you're looking for a lot of pointless stories, head on over to the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network.
Oh, they're not pointless. They're fantastic. Thanks so much. I know you are the busiest guy in Disney podcasting, by the way. I appreciate your time.
No. Again, appreciate the invite, and thanks again.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm Tim Scott, Facebook, Twitter, the website, ResortLoop.com. Everybody, you've been listening to the Gateway to the Magic. HolidayThon will continue. Everyone, we'll see you soon.